Today on Press B to Cancel, the hunt for retro video games. What's it like for you? With Blitzbrom. Obligatory mouth noises. Noise.
I can't do it.
Do I say something witty here?
Talking his mouth noises. There you go, Jake. Anyway, today we are joined by the incomparable Blitzbrom. How you doing today, sir?
Doing fantabulous.
And I'm hosting today, Werewolf, and we are also joined by GP today. How you doing, sir?
I am doing fantastic. I am haunted by bidet noises. I'll say it that way. But otherwise good.
Your own personal super soaker.
Nice.
You know what? I think we touched on that. There's probably a few different ways people go about looking for retro video games. There's, the good old fashioned when we were kids going to the local secondhand game store before there was trade-ins at GameStop or before there was GameStop in my case. There was the ads in the back of video game magazines. Do you guys remember those?
Yes. So much of my collection as a youngster, not just for actual games, but even for oddities like little handheld systems or what was it? Was it R-Zone? Do you guys remember R-Zone? It was like a headband with a heads-up display. But yes. Anyway, yes, I very much remember. Yeah, it was horrible.
Oh, that vaguely sounds familiar. Buying secondhand through a video game magazine ad was probably the second way I found retro games and purchased through that. The main way was a little local shop. It sort of did the trade thing, much like GameStop, but it was much more value for the customer. And I feel bad because eventually the guy went out of business. But that's because he dealt in a lot more things than video games. He did like collectibles, gold, jewelry, all sorts of stuff.
Heroin.
But they were always swamped by kids in the front of the store coming in, trading their NES games, trading their Super Nintendo games, their Genesis games. For most NES games, it was literally you come in, you give them your NES game, get a different one for $2. Unless it was a more popular title or a rare title, in which case that ramped up.
Well, for me, it was more like when I went to Hollywood Video. I know,
yeah.
GP, you don't know what Hollywood Videos are.
No, I absolutely do know it. No, I know exactly what that is.
Going through their dump bins of old games that they didn't want anymore.
Oh, yeah. Blockbuster did that, too.
Something that's run its course, that they rented out a whole bunch, that they think that, okay, now we need to make room for the next new Nintendo 64 game or Super Nintendo game. Let's put this one on the super cheap for like $5.
Yeah, Blockbuster did that too. I think I grabbed a couple from Blockbuster over the years. I actually got my Who Framed Roger Rabbit that way. It's got the Blockbuster sticker on it.
Yeah, I got a number of carts that have like Blockbusters, Hastings, Dillons. I don't know if you guys are familiar with those, but yeah. Oh, so many good stories.
I'm gonna come right out and say chances are the most expensive. Okay, so I've got a few different stories to tell for my retro game hunts. Most of them are from a while back. But first, I kind of want to touch on what's the market like in your area for retro games? Because personal experience for me is it was kind of... Southern California is a desert normally, but it's also a desert for finding retro video games secondhand through stores. There's like stores here and there, but many of them are way overpriced. They're kind of scattered far and wide. Like they're hard to find. And then when I moved up here to the Pacific Northwest, I found at least half a dozen within a half hour of where I live.
Oh yeah, there's a good variety. I mean, because I think part of that for the Pacific Northwest was because Nintendo of America was based out in Redmond, so a lot of Nintendo's product came through their warehouse.
Yeah, I actually was thinking that same thing. Is just there's a lot of like video game supplier corporate headquarters up here, and have been over the years, to where I was like, okay, there's just a big presence of it here. Maybe the distribution was heavier here too.
Well, that and you also had Microsoft founded Xbox here, so that also helped.
Yeah, I found it interesting, but that was also kind of my theory. Was just Microsoft is up here, Nintendo is up here. I think Sony's down in California and has been, but and then Sega was, I want to say, in Northern California. I think it was Redwood, so that's like nowhere near anywhere that I've lived.
The West Coast was the closest to Japan, and they were the leading video game developers, so they had the Western market for them was, for them it's Eastern market, right?
Yeah, actually.
Was prime for them.
But I would definitely say, I usually had to drive half hour to 40 minutes to get to one in Southern California. And then up here, I can probably reach 3 within 10 minutes. Pretty wild. What about you, GP? What's it like in your area?
Well, I'm in central Kansas. I think everybody knows that by now. But for as long as I've been collecting, I've moved around a lot. I've spent some time down in Austin, Texas. But really, when I started collecting, I was living in Joplin, Missouri. Yes, that Joplin, Missouri. And it was cool there because the economy is kind of more poor. At least it was in the late 90s where I lived and all that kind of thing. So there were a lot of secondhand stores. And I mean, like, probably 5 or 6 that I would frequent. My favorite was, it's no longer in existence, but it was called the Book Barn. And it was a nerd curio shop. I think I've said that before in the arcade, but I like that thing. It's a nerd curio shop. But you could go and you could find anything from records to old, action figures to, video games. And one of my favorite finds of all time I had gotten from there, which was Metal Storm, and I still have the sticker on it. I got it for $2.99 back in like 96. Of course, that card's worth about $100 now. And then I've got Ninja Gaiden, which gets a whole lot of play from there as well. So after I kind of discovered the Book Barn, about 2 years later, it was co-owned by these two dudes who I guess had a falling out, so they split, and the Book Barn remained, but the other guy formed another place called Eccentrics, and he had just as much amazing stuff as the Book Barn guy did. So it was kind of like when your parents divorce, and it sucks for a minute, but then you realize you get 2 Christmases.
Love 2 Christmases.
I don't know. I've always been kind of, I don't know. I feel like as a kid, I really honed my senses as to what kind of places would have things. And also, when you come from a family like mine, we were very thrifty. We still are. And garage sales are my jam. The only issue between garage sales and the current market, which is, people assume because it's retro, it's popular. So they want, $25 for the Mario and Duck Hunt, cart. They either want way too much, or it's, like I said, a garage sale of somebody just trying to get rid of stuff. So it's, $2 for Mega Man 5, which is, $70 game. So it's just like me driving on the highway. I'm the only one who really knows what's going on. Everybody else is too fast or too slow. And that is the current state of things in my world with game hunting.
I have experienced that sort of thing, but
That's one thing that's kind of bad nowadays is how readily available the internet is and how easy it is for someone to just check how much are they selling this on eBay. Oh, well, I can sell it for that price if they're selling it for that on eBay. It's like, well, you got someone here that's willing to offer you cash. You're not paying shipping and handling fees, or you're not paying a commission fee to eBay at all. It's like you're not going to get that price for that game.
Yeah, I kind of relish whenever I'm haggling prices with somebody because I forget the guy's name, or maybe I remember it, but I don't want to get sued, so I'm not going to say it. But the dude from Pawn Stars, I love hearing people say, like, I could let it go for 15, and I just think about it for a second, and I go, best I can do is 7.
Yeah.
Of course, it's not the best I can do.
It's worth its weight in gold. No, I'm sorry. I got to make a profit off
but
of
you know what you said that's a great point, because some people will look up like eBay and say, well, this is what they're selling it for, this is what I can get. But you also have some people who are in the know who adequately price their stuff, and then they can source where they got the price from other than eBay. There's an app that I use called GameEye, GAMEYE. Not a sponsor, but they update daily prices for games across all different platforms and systems. And then, you can keep your library. You can have a wish list. It'll ask you, do you have like the cart, the manual, the box? Is it sealed? Like all these things. So I, right now, if I wanted to, could pull up the value of my collection, the number of carts that I have for any given system, as well as the systems. And so if somebody can come to you and say, this is why I'm selling it, as of this time on this day, this is the price, makes everything a lot more streamlined.
Yeah, I think I use VG price chart or something like that. That's generally what I use for reference.
I'm really terrible. I just go up there and be like, oh, I like that price. I'll take that one.
You and your high castle.
I don't know how you guys do your game hunts, but when I go looking for retro games, like I don't go looking for something super specific, but I've probably got a short list of like 10 games that I've always kind of got an eye out for, and I know about what they're worth. I have a general idea of the other stuff that I'd be interested should I come across it. And then, there is always my phone at hand if I don't know. But there's certain things that I used to look for, like the power base converter for the Genesis that let you play Master System games in the Genesis. And honestly, I have no idea why I'd look for it, because I had a Master System, so I don't know, I just wanted it to have it, right?
Yeah, sure.
And I came across it at one point at I can't remember what the place was called, but the guy who owned it was an asshole. It's in Riverside, California.
Oh, yeah, I know that story.
I asked him, there's like one. So, I mean, if he's a listener, I guess he's not anymore.
Yeah, well, no, it was asshole. It was asshole Gary's. I understand that. That was, yeah.
I'm tagging his Instagram right now for you. It's just like, hey, check out this podcast we're talking about.
Asshole Gary's went under, and it got replaced by another place called Assholes, which is a strip club.
Now, this was Riverside, California, because I know there's Riversides all over the place, so it's that one specifically. But
oh, never mind. I was thinking of Riverside, New Jersey. That was my bad.
guy was a and I went into a store, and I knew my stuff a lot better back then. This was probably 11 years ago now. I went in, I was looking for it, and I knew like I could get it online for $40, right? So I asked him, I was like, what's the price on that? And he goes, $55. So I nodded, and I went looking at other stuff, and I was like, man, that's more than I want to pay. And then, I don't know, I found some other game that I was a little bit excited about, and I asked about that. And again, he was like 20 over. I nodded, and I just kept looking. And he instantly knew that I was not happy with the prices. And he got all shitty about it and started being like, if you don't like my prices, you could just leave. I was like, all right, bye.
Okay. Yeah. See ya.
He's like, I know what these are worth. They're hard to find. I was like, not on eBay.
Right. So that's kind of the great equalizer, because that's brought up a couple different times now, eBay. Depending on what side of the transaction you're on, it is either of benefit or, working against you to mention eBay. Because, yeah, you're right. As a buyer, you might be like, well, I could just go home and click the buy now, and it'll be here in a couple of days, and I'll be fine. But if you're selling it, you're also like, God, I hope this person doesn't know about eBay.
Now, I'll be honest. The excitement for me is finding it in person.
I agree.
Not going onto a website and clicking add to cart and get it in a few days in the mailbox. Yeah, exactly. So there's definitely a loss of thrill of the hunt in that sense. But sometimes what you're looking for, you're probably not going to find locally anytime soon. Yeah, you know what I mean?
That's fair. But let me pose this to you this way. If you were to find somebody, let's say on Facebook Marketplace, I use this quite a bit now. The marketplace is on social media. And, the first thing you do, hello, how are you? Is this still available? Yes. Then immediately, even though it's via the internet, my heart starts pumping. It's almost like when I was a kid. If I had a game I was looking for, I would call Hollywood Video, because I know what that is. And I'd be like, hey, do you have this game? And if they said yes, it was immediately like, well, I'm in 7th grade. I can't drive. You're on the other side of town. Can you hold it for me while I try to get somebody to get me out there? So anyway, I just, that buy it now button, you're right. The thrill of the hunt is gone, but there is something to be said about all I have to do is click it and it is guaranteed to be mine. So there's a little bit of peace of mind there. Although I should mention I have horrible anxiety about most things in life, and I'm starting to understand where that comes from, video game hunting. Like the number of times I busted through the doors at Hastings. I'm like, I'm GP, do you guys have my game? I called earlier. I'm sure they're like, you are the most dramatic fifth grader of all time, kiddo. And I'm like,
huffing and puffing when you walk in the door.
And do you guys have any Dragon Ball Z videotapes? I was that guy. That doesn't matter.
I take this box of dots too.
Yeah.
That was a brutal thing as a kid. That place I mentioned that was nearby to us that would do the game trades. I'd call him and I'd be like, do you have this game? And he'd be like, yeah, we got one of them. Can you hold it? Nope. First come, first serve.
Right.
Shit.
Yep.
All right. They're 20 minutes away. I got to see if mom or dad will take me. Mm-hmm. And I'm hoping that they don't sell that to somebody else by the time I get there. There's like 50-50 chance whether they'd have it by the time I got there.
And the whole time you're driving there, you're thinking, okay, if I show up and they're like, oh man, you're 2 minutes too late, is it okay if I ask them what the guy looked like who bought it?
You just gotta jump him on the way.
Which sounds like bananas level threatening, but it's really just I want to see if I can buy it off of him. But it's like, hey, yeah, what was this kid driving? What was his name? Did you get his driver's license?
Well, the chances were a lot higher that it'd be there if it was a weekday. Like if it was a Tuesday or Wednesday and I called and they had it, if I got there 45 minutes later, chances are they'd still have it.
Yeah.
If it was a Saturday, if I wasn't there in 15 minutes, it was gone for sure.
Right.
Now, for me, if it was Friday, if you called on Friday, then there's nothing available for you on Friday. Because you Friday after school, you're calling up your buddies, come over here and play. All the games are gone. And you spend a whole entire weekend fishing in Breath of Fire 3. Because that's what my brother did. I went out and I rented the game, and then he and one of his friends took it over and fished for the entire game. And I'm like, I just spent the $7 renting that. What are you guys doing? Let me play.
What is this called? Fishing Simulator 3? Yes. That's horrible.
Breath of Fishing.
Breath of Fishing, yeah.
Yeah, Breath of Fishing, yeah. Guys, I think we just stumbled upon a new series that we need to have somebody develop.
You see him yelling really, really hard, get all Dragon Ball Z like, and then you throw your fishing rod out into the water.
Just 30 minutes of it. All the fish have crazy hair. I like it, guys. This is perfect. There's no downside. We got a game.
Some of them glow.
We got a game. Let's do it. Make it happen.
One of them turns into a giant animal.
Right. Well, it would be a dinosaur, right?
Get some wishes.
Yeah, you collect 6. The fish balls are just like, the fish eggs with stars in them.
Yeah.
This is brilliant. This is fucking great. It writes itself.
Yeah. This is awesome.
This is great. Now, I will say this also. I feel like since the invention of the internet, when it comes to wheeling and dealing with games, people are dicks. Not all the time. I've had more encounters with kind, people than with not. But just like in real life, the ones who are jerks are the ones in your memory. I have been sitting on this for too long. I need to therapize it out of my body, so I'm going to tell you all this story.
All right.
Right now, my NES collection sits at 298. I'm trying to collect. I've got a list of 644 games. I call it my quest for NES. I had come across a guy who was selling the original Donkey Kong, and he had it listed on the social media marketplace for $10. So I immediately messaged, is this available? Yes. Does it work? Yes. Is it a reproduction? What's that? Okay, that means no. Well, yeah, can I swing by and pick it up this afternoon? Sure. So I go, it's in the time of COVID. So he's like, leave it under this plant on my front porch. The game, I'll hand it to you through the mail slot. It was very adorable. So I did that, and I get home, and he has blown up my messages saying, this game is worth a lot more than $10. I bet you knew that. So I'm like, okay, hold on. You're the one who set the price.
Yeah.
If I tried to talk him out of something and talk him down and he didn't know, yes. But again, that's part of haggling. But then again, he set the price. And all I did was say, what do you want for it? He told me, I gave it to him.
Yeah.
And he had the balls to come at me like that. And I'm like, oof, report.
The question here is, why did he wait until after you showed up, gave him the money, and then looked up the price of the game? Why didn't he look that up first?
If I remember correctly, either another interested party or a friend of his saw the listing and said, this is worth quite a bit more. And then either they told him or he looked it up. But by then it was already in my hand. Transaction was done. That's my thing is, if you're not going to be aware of what you have and how much it's worth, you waive the right to complain about it if you sell it under market.
If you're selling something, one would think you'd know what it's worth, especially if you're selling. Was it an individual listing or was it like just a huge list of games?
I think he had 4 different titles, and I had the other 3. And that was the only one that was on my list that I needed to get. And I think he had just a group pricing. I said, how much would you want for just Donkey Kong? And he's like, I don't know, $10. I'm like, yeah, great. I can make that happen. I'll be there in 20 minutes. So we did that. And then afterwards he was like, oh man, you suck and all this stuff. I'm like, dude.
So one thing with Facebook Marketplace as opposed to eBay is you can actually talk to the person and haggle a price. It's not like, oh, I'm going to set this price on eBay at this price and then people can bid on it, or they could buy it now at this price. Whereas with Facebook Marketplace, you can be like, oh, hey, well, I'm interested in just this one, or I'm interested in the whole thing. Will you take X instead of Y for the whole thing?
It said I might have felt a little bit of guilt if I had said, would you take this amount? But it wasn't that. It was, you name your price and I will, if it's acceptable to me, I'll pay it. If he had said $30, I'd be like, I don't know, maybe we can go down a little bit. Best I can do is 7. But he just came out like that was his opening thing was $10. I'm like, great, let's do it.
Yeah, and that's his loss, not yours.
And that's the thing is typically I get over that stuff. Somebody who streams and has a bit of a public interface on streaming platforms. I don't mind getting hassled or heckled or whatever. But man, something about this kid that was months ago. That was probably late summer of last year. And that's how much it stuck with me. And so I'm glad we're talking about this because I needed to get that off my chest. Because typically it's like, I will take 5 seconds to listen to your point and then spend another 5 seconds completely forgetting you exist. But this kid, man, he did something and it stuck with me. So that's that story.
I'll send you my bill.
Do you guys, yeah, right. Do you guys have negative interactions like that? Okay, let me hear it.
I have one. I mean, it wasn't. I kind of went in. There's this place out here. It was called Al's Music, Videos, and Games. Well, I found out that they had another location up in the University District near the UW campus. So I went out there with a friend of mine. I was sifting through the games. It was really dark and dungy in there. Like that building's been there forever, and the lighting in there was terrible. But they had all these showcases. You walk into a business, right? You assume that anything and everything in your business is for sale, right? I mean, if you wanted something that wasn't for sale, you'd keep it say behind the counter, not out in a display case somewhere.
Right, sure.
Yeah.
I came across one of the holy grails of video gaming carts for the NES.
Shut up! Don't tell me a Little Samson story, dude.
Wow.
It was a Little Samson.
Oh.
It was Little Samson. And I'm sitting here looking at it, just going, oh my God, I am not seeing what I'm seeing right now. This is not happening. And knowing that I wouldn't be able to afford it anyways, because I was like, I don't got $1,200 on me at the time. There's no way I'm going to be able to buy this. I looked over at the guy. I was like, I have to ask you, what is the price of your Little Samson? Because there's no price on it.
Yeah.
And he goes,
okay,
not for sale. And I'm just devastated. I couldn't, oh God, got my tax return. Fuck it, I'm going up there right now. I'm going to buy me this Little Samson right now. I just know I have to let it go. I can't ever go. I can go back there and stare at it and gawk over and let's shed a tear or whatever and know that I can't purchase that ever. And it's just devastating.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's devastating to me.
That is going to bingo night and you are one space away from a blackout, which is worth all the money, and you see your next ball, the one thing that you need to be called is next on the screen and somebody else calls bingo. You're there, You picture it. You know exactly what's going to happen. And then it doesn't happen. Somebody takes that from you. And then Grandma takes me to Dairy Queen, so I'll stop crying.
Yeah, exactly.
I may have been a little too specific, but you guys get it. I got to admit, Little Samson is like my most coveted cart in my list. After a certain dollar amount, I don't mind buying reproductions for my 644 quest, but I think Little Samson will be the one game I don't mind shelling $1,000 out for. I have a copy of it on a multi-cart. I absolutely love the game. I love the story behind it, why it's so rare, all of that. Just probably one of my top 20 NES games. And I don't think I'm really even considering letting, I shouldn't say it like this, letting President Biden buy me one. You know, that stimulus money. Like, I had to have the conversation with my wife. We're not doing that. But it was the top of my list.
Well, I mean, that would be the entire payout right there. Apparently that one's $1,400 loose right now.
Right, yeah, exactly.
It's funny though how that one is like it's $1,400 loose, but it's just shy of $10,000 new.
Oh my god!
So for games that have sold for an incredibly high amount, being one of the rarer games, you'd think new that one would skyrocket, but apparently the high price the collectors with money are not paying for that one.
Yeah,
kind of weird.
They're paying for a sticker sealed.
Oh yeah,
Super Mario Bros.
The name, the brand recognition.
Mm-hmm.
That's true too.
Right, and that was limited release too. Those were demo copies.
Oh, snap, yeah.
Oh wow.
Let me ask you guys this real quick, because I know we were talking about part of the fun of it is the hunt. Let's say you win like the lottery, and you got $500 million. It's one of those nice big lotteries. Whatever system you're collecting for. Does it cheapen it if you just use a very small portion of the $500 million that you have to go and just buy it outright? Like, to me, I would never do that. If I knew all 644 games were waiting for me, not reproduction, even new in box, I don't think I would pull the trigger and do the buy it now. I think instead I would just travel the country hunting. Am I alone in that, or would anybody just be like, no, I'm going to go and click buy it now?
Oh no! If we won like $500,000 from or half a billion dollars from the lottery,
Mm-hmm.
and everything else is taken care of, like I have a lot of things I want to do that's like good with the money to help people and start a business and pay everybody well and all that stuff. But on the other side of things, like there's money that we would set aside for us to play with and have fun and travel and whatever.
Sure.
And since work would no longer be an issue, we would definitely, like, come summertime, here's a brand new RV that's real nice. We're going to go see all sorts of shit, do cool shit with the family, have a great
Road
summer.
trip.
We're also going to hit a whole lot of gaming stores, and I'm going to have a cargo bin just for those games I find over that summer.
Yeah, fire up the Airstream.
I tell you though, the thrill of the hunt would still be there, but no price tag would stop me from anything.
I mean, unless somebody is just like really being greedy, in which case I'm like,
Oh, no. I would still. But here's the thing. I would haggle. Even if I had that $500 million and I lied, I would go ahead and do the buy it now, put that in storage, and then go and do... Because why not? I got $500 million, right? I can have 2 sets of NES games. It's fine. So that's what I would do. I'd buy it now, put it in storage, insure the fuck out of it, get an Airstream, and just travel the country, and I would still haggle.
Oh yeah, the haggling would still be there, but I mean, if it's like $5 or $10 away from where I'm looking at, or $20 depending on what it is, sure, no problem. But I mean, if it's like outrageously overpriced,
this is the worst thing I've ever experienced. Is when you're haggling with somebody, and they're like, it's gonna be $20. You're like, I'll give you 15 for it, and they're like, all right, $15. So then you put down a $100 bill.
No. I would make sure I'd go in with like a 10, a 20, and a 5 in my wallet.
And keep it all in different pockets.
And then anything bigger in like a back pocket.
Sure.
Tucked away so that it's like, it's not obvious. If I need to pull it out, I can. But then try to haggle them, Try to be like, this is all I got. Can you do it?
When you go on, you get that little... Here goes gas money.
Yeah, right.
And you slide that 100 on the table, and then you give them the guilt trip of like, all right, well, I'll make it a little cheaper for you.
Well, the kids had a big breakfast. I'm sure they're okay till tomorrow. Let's do it. No, I would never do that, but I would do this where, like, if I took a certain amount of money in with me, and I knew I wasn't going to go over a certain price for a certain thing, let's say I'd have like $10 in my left pocket, 15 in my right pocket, and 20 in my back pocket, that I would do. That way I don't reach in. If he says like $17, I can kind of configure what I need out of that, so it doesn't so I don't pull out more money and the guy's like, you're a dick. It's so stupid. I understand, but it's,
Yeah.
if you want to do repeat business, that's my other thing. Nowadays, I hit up here in Wichita. We've got a couple of different marketplaces, not marketplaces, flea markets and thrift shops, and I do repeat business with these guys. So I always make sure to try to just have exact amounts of money, or have a conversation with them beforehand, and then be like, all right, well, let me go to the bank and get it. That way, it's never okay. Well, we said 15. Can you break a 20? Because then he's like, well, why the fuck didn't we do 20? Anyway, it's like. All the words just to say it's become a bit of, I don't want to say an art form because of how pretentious that sounds, but it kind of is. I love it. I can't get enough of it. And I swear to God, if I could retire right now and be well off, all I would do is travel around looking for video games for the next year. Thank you. That is all. What is the most nefarious thing you guys ever did for a video game purchase? Did you ever not that it's nefarious, but did you ever sell plasma for something? Or anything like that? Did you ever trade away something that belonged to somebody else so that you could get a game? I didn't do that.
No. I have friends who had that kind of thing happen to them, but I never did that.
Okay. I see you, Wulff. I think I understand what you're talking about, and I'm not gonna call you out on it. I'm not gonna say bullshit, but go ahead and tell me that story. No, tell me that story. It's fine. Tell me who your friends were. It's fine.
Okay, so I've mentioned this guy before, my friend Rob.
Oh yeah.
I've known him for 24 years now. Holy shit. Anyway, apparently about a year or two before I met him, he had lent his copy of Legend of Zelda for Super Nintendo to a buddy of his, and his buddy's brother took and sold that copy of Legend of Zelda so that he could buy some marijuana.
Oh.
No.
And I'm like, that's fucked up.
That is insanely fucked up.
Oh man, no. Okay, I guess I do have one. And it wasn't on purpose, right? So I borrowed my buddy's Final Fantasy 3 Super Nintendo cart, right? When I was living with my mom still, we were trying to purchase this house. My stepdad bought a lot of cars when his mom died, and they were all out front of the house, and the place we were renting it from was a trailer park. Didn't like the fact that there was all these cars out in front. Well, eventually we ended up getting kicked out of that trailer park, and we had to quickly take all the stuff that I had owned and put it into a storage unit. Well, I ended up having to move in with my grandmother, and I never met him again. I lost his phone number because it was all written down on paper. It was all in storage. Years later, I come across the cart, and I think to myself, oh my God, I feel so bad, right? Because nowadays, oh my God, it's a pretty expensive cart, and it's just I don't know how I don't remember his name. I don't remember his phone number. I don't remember where he lives. I have no way of returning it to him.
So if you're out there listening, mystery man. That's interesting. That's cool. No, I get that, though.
Blitz has a cart for you. It's got your name on it. Actually, it doesn't have his name on it. It's just a clean cart. But
I was gonna say, did he write his name on the cart? That would be the number one place to check, Blitz. That's hilarious.
No.
That's hilarious.
No, see, nothing. I never did that to anybody. We moved a lot, and I was always the kid who had a lot of games that people wanted to borrow instead of usually the one doing the borrowing. And I had a group of friends who I could trust pretty well, so I didn't mind letting them out. So nobody ever stole them, except for one kid eventually, but he stole it differently than just borrowing it.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I had stuff, I had a game I lent to my cousins when I was a kid, and it just never found its way back to me. I had a game I lent to my stepbrother at one point, and then never got that back. No big deal. I haven't seen him since, but no big deal.
Right. So if you're out there listening, okay, yeah.
One of my ex-girlfriends, I lent her my SNES with Zelda. Never got those back.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, I've had things get borrowed from me and didn't get them back.
But you've never held on to somebody
I've never
else's.
done that to anybody. No, I think that happened with my brother though. I think he borrowed something from somebody. Oh, you know what? I have.
Oh, see, this is the magic of the show.
Oh, I found one. Okay, so
I got it from my story help.
and I guess if they want it back, they're welcome to get it. They're welcome to bug me about it, and I'll send it back. But PS2 Shadow of the Colossus.
Oh, okay.
I was borrowing it for a while, and then I lent it to, because my brother and I are both friends with these people. So after a while, I was done with it, and my brother was like, well, I want to play it. So I just messaged them. I was like, hey, is it cool if he borrows it? And they're like, yeah, it's fine. So he borrowed it, and he never gave it back to them.
Oh.
And eventually, he gave it back to me thinking it was mine.
Oh.
And I was like, are you sure it's not? I thought it was theirs. And he was like, no, they have a copy. So I guess maybe they bought a copy again after they never got their original one back. And I wound up with that one. I don't know. But I have a Shadow of the Colossus I never paid for.
When I was a kid, my mom, any video game I got, she kept written down in a log, right?
Oh,
and
cool.
she went out and she got this little number ticket gun, right? And I had all those nifty clear plastic cases that said Nintendo on them. She would write down what number it was in her little notebook, what game it was, and then she'd sticker that number on the cart and on the case. So whenever I loaned it out, she would take the note, be like, Jimmy has
Nice.
Rockin' Cats. This date. So I never had a problem getting my games
I should say not, man. That's awesome. That's legit too.
Yeah, that's some good organizational skills. And I thought to have organizational skills like that when I was a kid, I'd probably have most of my game collection that went missing.
Now, in my head, your mom actually took the time to think, would it be cost effective if I just, made membership cards for everybody to come and check out games?
Right, yeah. Well, see, the problem, though, is in that move, right, when everything got put into my storage unit, someone had forged my mother's signature and got into the storage unit. I had this one-of-a-kind Nintendo sign. It was steel. It was black. And it had the NES logo. And it had, back in the day, those little fibers that would change colors.
Exactly what you're talking about.
Well, it had one of those little color wheels inside of it. And it would change colors, and it would constantly, the Nintendo sign would light up, and it'd basically write it out, and then it'd circle it in the Nintendo oval. All that stuff, including the power cable to my old TV, all stolen.
Oh, man.
So I had to start back from square one.
Wow.
That sucks. That sign sounds like it's badass, too.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
I'm heartbroken.
Right?
Oh, dude, you have no idea how devastated I was.
Yeah.
What a doubt. Now I'm all sad.
Oh, God, I want to say it was 4.5 feet long.
Wow.
Damn.
It wasn't as tall, but it was a decent length.
Kind of like one of those ones they'd have set up at the Nintendo kiosks in the mall or something, huh?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, it would. Except for this one was handmade by one of my stepdad used to be
Oh, man.
He used to work in the marina, and they always had spare scrap metal and stuff, and some guy had made it for
so
me.
it was a one of a kind. It's not like
Jeez.
I could find it somewhere and buy it and send it to you. It's just, that's the only one.
Nope.
That's even more heartbreaking.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to be a Debbie Downer or anything. We were just telling stories.
I'm not laughing at that. I'm sorry. Can I tell you guys the most fucked up story? No.
Sure.
Let's
hear it.
This is a good story, but it's fucked up. Okay, so 2 Christmases ago, this was Christmas of 2017. Or no, Christmas of 2018. My family rents a cabin out in the Smoky Hills in Tennessee. Smoky Mountains, sorry, not Smoky Hills. Smoky Mountains. My wife and I, we decided to plot out a course on the way there, driving, and on the way back, to stop in a number of different towns and cities to go video game hunting and videotape it and make a little docu-series out of it. And I'm not going to say the city or the name of the place, but I knew right away that this place was not kosher. Something was off about this place. They had it was a messy place. Everything was just strewn everywhere. It looked like it was a remodeled skating rink that they just turned into place that they could hold it and then sell stuff. Anyway, I found a game there, and it was Wrecking Crew. I didn't have it, so I was like, how much for this? And he had said $20. I said, okay, well, I think I could probably do that. He goes, or $10 if you take off your shirt. And I said, what now? And he's like, yeah, if you take off your shirt, I'll sell it to you for $10. And I didn't know what to say to the dude. I'm like, so anyway, I got a good deal on Wrecking Crew. But this is the first time I've told that story. My wife and my kids were not in the store. They were in the car. This is how sketchy the place looked. I told them, keep the car running, stay in the car, lock the doors. I'll be back in a minute. And, yeah, so that's my, not nefarious. Again, it's mostly harmless. But he had a gentle touch. I'm kidding about that. But the topless thing was real. I'm not going to ask because I think I know the answer. Have you guys ever had to do anything like that? That's a common thing, right? That's a normal thing to do. No.
No.
Okay. Well,
At least twice.
okay. There we go. Thank you.
I know that Wulff would put on Yoshi outfits for games. So.
You would too. Don't tell me you wouldn't.
Shh, if you can find a Yoshi outfit that would fit me, I would do it immediately.
Okay. Now I'm on social media marketplace right now. Let me type in Yoshi costume.
So, in some of my game hunting that I used to do before we moved up here, like I said, there was a lot of places, like if they were specifically for that, they were usually expensive as hell.
Mm-hmm.
But, sometimes you come across a gem at Goodwill, Salvation Army, DAV, stuff like that.
Even those old antique stores. You'd be surprised. Some people would get those in there.
Did you guys ever watch that show Storage Wars?
Mm-hmm. Very yes.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. One of the stores that the owner represented, it was called Bargain Hunters.
I don't know that one.
I don't remember their stores.
I don't know. Well, okay, so one of the owners in the show, one of the guys who would go and buy units, he owned a place called Bargain Hunters in Southern California. And I used to live not too far from this place. Well, in that shopping center with that store specifically, there's like 4 other thrift stores. So every once in a while, if we were feeling particularly, let's go look at thrift stores, we'd go check that row of stores too. Because they didn't often have good stuff, but every once in a while we'd find something. Like I found a really cool, here's a tangent for you guys. I found this badass little wooden dog carving. It reminded both me and the wife of Oingo Boingo, and for those of you who don't know, that's my favorite band of all time.
I love Oingo Boingo.
And on the bottom of it, it actually says who carved it and where. It's from like Oaxaca, Mexico, and this is super cool. So it was one of those cool finds you find at a thrift store. Anyway, in that line of thrift stores, there's like 4 of them. Some of them have games. So we'd go in there, and there was one of them that was so tiny it made the wife feel claustrophobic. So she couldn't go in there. She was like, not doing it. But I'd wander in there while she was looking at another one. They literally had their game collection sort of stacked right behind the front door. So you're right by the register, but also facing away from it and just looking through stacks of games that you have to like pull out a stack and look at them because they're stacked on shelves with the names facing inwards.
Oh,
so I'd go through those, and then I'd get to Bargain Hunters, and sometimes I'd find a game that was like $5 when it should be 15.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Go to Bargain Hunters, and I found, I want to say it was like Super Mario Kart or something, and it was literally a loose copy, and they had it for at least twice the going price of the game.
Mm.
And that was pretty much standard for all the games they had. They were all so ridiculously overpriced, I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, I wouldn't even call that a thrift store at that point.
I was like, how do you call yourself a thrift store? How do you call yourself Bargain Hunters? How are you making money?
Well, you have to hunt for the bargain. That's the thing.
I guess. I couldn't. I was so surprised. I was blown away. I was like, I don't understand how this store is making money and it's still in business, but I guess it is.
Yeah, a buddy of mine, we were at a Goodwill up in, I think we were up in Ballard, somewhere around there. He came across a PS2 Slim. I was like, sweet, nice find. It had everything. It had all the plugs, had the power. And he goes and he opens it, to take a look at the eye and everything. And sure enough, what's in there? Final Fantasy X.
Oh, snap.
Nice.
So he got himself a PS2 for $5 and Final Fantasy X for free.
That's something I did up here actually. So I've had some pretty good luck with Goodwills based on the location, of course. But there was a Goodwill I used to live near in California that I found, and I know it's not the best Metroid game out there, but the one for Other M, I think I got that one for like $6, and it was in like new condition. I got Zelda. What's the Sky one?
Skyward Sword, yeah.
I got that one for $7, like new condition. That Goodwill had some really good bargains on games from time to time, so I'd grab those.
Mm-hmm.
And up here, shortly after we moved up here, I went and checked out a Goodwill and just happened upon a PS3.
Wow.
No idea if it worked. It was marked at $12, and we had a coupon for like 20% off the whole purchase. So after that, it was even cheaper. It was like $9 and change, right?
Yeah.
So the wife was like, you know what? For that, if it doesn't work, no big loss.
Right.
Get it.
Yeah.
So we grabbed it, took it home. Works like a charm, like no issues whatsoever. I was so happy. A PS3 for $9
With
a
the
coupon.
Man.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. That's what's killing me with that story. I love it. That's the best.
Xander got himself a brand new
What are you
PS3.
talking about? I got me a new PS3.
Oh. I figured you already had one.
No, I never got a PS3. I skipped that. I went to 360 for that generation. So
That's hilarious. I love that. I love that story.
so then the chore was like, okay, now I got to find 3D Dot Game Heroes, because that's the one game that I was like, I have to play this game, and never got the chance. And I think I ended up finding it for like $25.
No Little Big Planet?
Oh, Little Big Planet was fun.
We have one of those for the PS4,
Mm-hmm.
so I wasn't super worried about that.
Katamari Damacy?
I have the second one for PS2, I think. I have We Heart Katamari. I have the PSP one. I can't remember what that one's called. And then I have one for 360. Beautiful Katamari. So they're just all over the place for that.
Let me ask you guys this real quick, if we can. I wanna make sure to ask. Do you have any finds that were just really special? Like the coupon story for the PS3, I love. But was that your best like find, where it was just this kind of happenstance? They must not know what they have, or it was an estate sale that was underpriced. Do you guys have any just really truly great stories? While you think of it, can I tell mine?
Go for it.
I feel guilty because that setup made it sound like I was interested in what you guys have to say, and I am, but also kind of I just wanted to tell you the story. Okay.
It's a segue, right? That's what they call that.
It was a horribly failed segue, masked as interest. But I promise you, I do want to know.
I thought it was effective until you removed the cat from the bag.
Oh, okay, well then I just shot myself in the foot. So here's the great story. 2 different transactions for Final Fantasy 1, complete in box, crispy. Final Fantasy 2, sealed. And Final Fantasy 3, complete in box. So, social media marketplace. My wife and I just got done garage sailing, looking for games and Nerf, because I got this whole thing I do with Nerf. Doesn't matter. This dude has Final Fantasy 2, still in plastic, and Final Fantasy 3 complete in box, but missing the map, missing the manual. So I messaged him because it said, he had a bunch of games that said, like price was 1, 2, 3, 4, ask for prices. So I said, well, how much do you want for Final Fantasies 2 and 3? Now I already own the carts, but I don't have the accoutrement, the stuff that goes with it. So he goes, probably $100. So I'm like, for one of them or for both of them? He's like, I could let both of those go for $100. So I said, where would you like to meet? I can go there right now. I can go to there. And so he told me, this gas station in the middle part of town. And I met up with him. And sure enough, and I'm staring at it right now. And I just sent some pictures for social media posting. Final Fantasy 2 and 3, complete in box, one of them sealed, for a total of $100. Now, the sealed Final Fantasy 2 is several $100s, and the complete in box Final Fantasy 3 is, $150 or whatever. So that was probably the biggest steal of a deal I ever got. The other one I want to mention, Final Fantasy 1, I'd gotten again on Marketplace, and there's a town like 2 hours south of where I'm at in northern Oklahoma. And it was Final Fantasy 1, complete in box. It wasn't sealed, but they took everything out and showed the picture. Everything was still shiny, pristine, crispy. The box had like no foxing or anything around the edges. So I said, well, how much? Because they had $20 listed for it. And I'm like, that's probably just a price they threw up there. And the lady goes, no, it's $20. So I said, great, please hold it. I'm on my way. So I get there and I knock on the door. The lady opens, shows me the box. I look inside. Everything is there. Everything is perfect. Everything is beautiful. And it is still to this date the cleanest box that I own that is not wrapped in cellophane. And I gave her $20 and I said, out of curiosity, why are you getting rid of this? And she goes, well, my husband is a trash man. You know, the guys that go around and collect your trash once a week or whatever. And he found it sitting on the top of somebody's garbage.
No way.
Yes, and that is hand to God the absolute truth. And I don't know if she could tell the shock on my face. But that was one of those things where I almost said, which house did he pick up the trash from? Because maybe they have more awesome stuff. But it was sitting on the top of the trash. They didn't have a need for it. He said it looked like a clean game. They were going to try to sell it. And that is how I got Final Fantasies 1, 2, and 3 complete in box in good condition, great condition.
Oh, that poor person who just probably was like walking out to their car with it, leaving that house or something, and left it on the trash can when they were talking or something.
Now, see, I doubt that. What I prefer to think, okay, is somebody was throwing it out as part of what would eventually become like an estate sale. Somebody passed or something happened, and they said, this is whatever this is. No one knows. No one cares. It looks old. Let's just get rid of it. Nobody wants this. The games nowadays look so much better than this. It's trash. And then the rest is history, and it ended up in a good home. So
That's probably true.
That could be.
But yeah, top of the trash can. Made me so happy. That was a good day.
Wow.
I got one, but it was a complete and utter disappointment.
Oh, okay. I'm intrigued.
So my favorite Genesis game is Toe Jam and Earl. And still to this day, I'm looking for it. And I have a couple other places that had it, but by the time I got there, they sold it.
Oh, no.
So a friend of mine, he goes, hey, man, he always goes yard selling. He's constantly yard selling every weekend when the yard sales are going. He's like, hey, man, what was that game you're looking for? I was like, I'm looking for Toe Jam and Earl. He goes, oh, well, I have it right here. I was like, really? No way. At a yard sale? He's like, yeah. I was like, dude, I'll pay you whatever the going price is for it, full price. Because that's how bad I wanted it. He's like, yeah, sure. He goes, it's $40. I'm like, what? No way. So I'm waiting, and finally he comes to my house to give me the game, and I slap $40 into his hand, and he hands me a complete in box, Toe Jam and Earl 2.
Oh.
Panic on Funkatron.
A Panic on Funkytron, and I'm like, no.
This is not what we talked about.
No. I was so just devastated. But I was like, hey, you know what? I got a complete in-box Toe Jam and Earl Panic on Funkatron. I'll take it.
Oh, man, that's like when you ask your mom because she's going to the store and that says, do you want anything? And you're like, could you pick up some root beer? And she goes, sure. And then she comes home with diet root beer. And then your grandma takes you to Dairy Queen so you'll stop crying. I miss my grandma.
I take that diet root beer and turn it into a root beer float, throw just a whole bunch of fucking ice cream in and make it sugary.
Now, Blitz, I gotta ask, when did this happen, this Toe Jam and Earl thing?
Oh, this had to have been like 10 years ago.
Okay. So you said you're still looking for Toe Jam and Earl?
I'm still looking for Toe Jam and Earl, yeah.
Now I feel bad because I sold mine last year.
Oh, no.
And I think it was complete.
Oh, bummer.
Like, I was literally the first and only owner of that game until I sold it.
What's the full name of the Toe Jam and Earl one that you want?
Toe Jam and Earl.
Okay, so the third one was Back in the whatever, and then...
Back in the Groove.
Yeah,
Back in the Groove, yeah.
On Funko. Okay. I'm sitting here thinking, I think I might actually have Toe Jam and Earl, but I'm not sure which one. It's probably Funkatron, but that's okay.
Yeah, Toe Jam and Earl is a lot harder to find.
I'll keep an eye out. Just, you never know what you're going to find, so that's good. I'm glad I know that.
That sucks.
I don't know why it was so fun, the two little aliens collecting presents and eating food and jumping into their own version of the TARDIS.
That is definitely one of my favorite Genesis games out there. But I have it on Steam now, so I was like, I can get rid of it.
Complete disregard for other people's needs, dude.
Yeah, how dare you?
So probably, I don't know that I can top the PS3 for $9 after a coupon.
With the coupon.
That coupon was like icing on the cake.
I did get Ninja Gaiden at a garage sale for $0.25.
Okay.
No, it's fine.
And that was, I don't know, some 6 years ago now. Otherwise, I did happen upon a second Sega Saturn at one point. So I had a Sega Saturn. I don't know if you guys remember that electronics store, The Good Guys.
Yeah, I remember Good Guys.
I bought it at the tail end of them still being around. Because apparently once the 32-bit video game market hit, it kind of wiped them out for some reason. They were being forced to sell their stock of Sega stuff. Otherwise, Sony was like, "Okay, we aren't going to sell you anything if you don't stop selling Sega Saturn." So they were like, "All right." So we got a like super deep discount on that. But we ended up getting the warranty on it for like 2-3 years. Ended up needing it because the motor or something just died on my Saturn that quick. So we took it back, got it fixed. I got it back a couple weeks later. A couple years after that, I was like, well, I've already had the motor die on my Saturn once. I'm keeping an eye out for a second Saturn. Went to my friend's house at one weekend. She was being kind of an ass, so I was like, I'm going to go for a walk. Fuck this. Just went for a walk around the block, and in doing so, happened upon a garage sale. So I was like, all right. Looking through, I was like, you got any game stuff? And he pointed me to it. And I was like, you have a Saturn? How much? I was like, I can do $20 on that. I got $20. Whipped out my wallet, gave him the 20 I had on me, walked away with a Saturn and an extra controller.
Do you accept coupons, sir?
He was like, I don't have the cords or anything. I was like, that's fine, I do.
Yeah. Dude, that's great. I like that story.
That's probably the most interesting garage sale game find I've had.
So I went over to Yakima, which is in eastern Washington. Yakima is this little tiny desert town. I guess I wouldn't say tiny anymore. And while we're out there, I was like, you know what? I'm going to try to find a retro game store. Just to see, you know, hey, it's out in the middle of nowhere. They probably got games for days, and no one looking to buy it because it's all full of, you know, over the hill aged people. I mean, is that the correct way to say that without being an asshole?
Wow, Blitz.
People of a non-gaming age.
Oh my goodness.
Yes. So there we go. Thank you very much. So I'm over there and I'm like, I'm probably going to find these. I only found one store on Google Maps. And I'm like, crap. Maybe it's not going to be as good as I thought it was. And as soon as I walk in there, I'm seeing some one-of-a-kind things, like some blankets I've never seen before, huge wall scrolls of, like, Super Mario Brothers 2, this and, you know, just awesome all around. And I'm looking, I was like, I've always wanted to get a Sega Master System. I look at it, I'm like, oh my God, no way. I mean, they had it listed for like $250 for one that was in rough condition. They had another one listed for $350 for that had 2 controllers and a game. And I'm like, no way, I'm not paying that.
Yeah, that sounds high.
That's super high. I figured maybe, and they had like 4 of them. I was completely just blown away. Like everything in there was like double the price that you'd find it in the city.
Okay, you know what? I do have a better purchase, but that's because of who I purchased from. I got my Sega Master System, controller, light gun, and I want to say 19 games, maybe 20 games, for $80.
Nice.
Now that's because it was my cousin's growing up, and he doesn't game all that much. So at one point, I was like, "Do you play your Master System?" He goes, "No." I was like, "You want $80 for all your Master System stuff?" He's like, "All right, sure."
Oh, but you hate that though. You hate it when somebody says yes to your first offer. Never mind. We'll edit that out too. That's a great story.
But I was happy with that, and he didn't feel screwed or anything.
Sure.
And I mean, he knows I'm into games, so it was like kind of like, well, I don't do anything with it. I'm not going to go through the hassle of selling it. So if you're offering me money, sure, you know.
Sure.
It's kind of how it was.
Well, my mother and father-in-law, they had it in television at some point, and I was over there. I was like, he was a gamer. He has every Nintendo Power still.
Wow.
And I'm trying to snag those from him because they're in a really bad spot, and eventually water's going to get to them. And I'm trying to get those over here to my house. They found up in their attic one of those NES Advantage controllers, complete in box.
Holy crap!
Wow.
And it's sitting behind me on my shelf. I'm like, oh really? You've got to have Nintendo games or Super Nintendo games somewhere if you have this sitting here. And they couldn't find them anywhere. But they did find a suitcase. And inside this little suitcase, it was a case designed for the Atari 2600. So I have Atari 2600 and probably a slew, probably like 20 games in this nice little suitcase.
The funny thing is that when you were telling us that story about you going to Yakima in the middle of nowhere kind of and checking out that game store, I thought you were going to have a similar experience to me where in Southern California, at one point we lived in Barstow. Now, for those of you unfamiliar with Barstow, it's pretty much the bathroom stop for most people from Southern California headed to Vegas or back. So
it's a little rest stop and janky
yeah,
coffee
it's
stand.
like that's where people stop and take a leak and grab McDonald's while they're still got half their drive left to get to Vegas, you know?
Let their dog go poo.
Yeah. So we moved out there at one point, and I was like, oh, man, there's nothing out here. I even said that a month before we moved there. I was like, man, I don't know if I could live out here. There's nothing. That was the wife's first time going to Vegas when I said that. A month later, she got offered a promotion with the contingent that it was in Barstow. So she was like, I have to talk to my husband because of a recent conversation we had. Yeah, when we were out there, we actually found a little game place, right? I was kind of surprised. And the prices there were not only fair, but often good. I was quite impressed. So I thought you were going to say something like that.
No, that's what I thought that's what I was actually expecting when I walked in there.
Because that's been my experience. The more middle of nowhere they are, generally the prices are better. And I'm guessing it has something to do with the rent price at that point. But
yeah, and I was sticker shocked.
I think the worst priced one I ever saw was a secondhand video game shop within about a mile of the beach. Oh, their prices were horrendous. But with that, I think, do you guys have any other interesting stuff to say about this?
Oh, dude, I got hours and hours of this stuff. I mean, that we could make this another ongoing series, like adventures in hunting.
I have to ask.
Hey, I'm down to come back and talk about this anytime.
Did you ever assemble a finalized Quest for NES movie that you were talking about doing?
Well, it wasn't.
Or did you leave it at the trailer?
A movie? No. Yeah, because my wife did that incredibly epic thing, and it was nowhere near as epic as that. No, I think there's 2 or 3 episodes of it that were pretty much all encompassing. Yeah, it's on YouTube. I'll have to go and see. Shit. Because I think there's footage of me not buying, but coming out of the store with the Wrecking Crew game, which means I just put my shirt back on. I'm going to have to go back and look. But yeah, it might be there on YouTube. I'll double check it.
I'll have to check those out. I didn't know you had those. I'll have to check those out.
Yeah. They're out there.
All I ever knew was the trailer, and I was like, is there actually going to be something with this? I guess so, and I just didn't know about it.
We put those out like a month later after I got done editing.
Oh, I really missed that. 2 months, 3 months later, I was like, man, he's still playing this trailer. Where's the videos?
No, I think I debuted the videos on Twitch. I don't know. It was a couple years ago. But yeah, they're out there.
Okay.
Oh no, he's a real estate mogul now.
I don't say mogul, Other people might say that. History will tell. All right, guys. This is a lot of fun. This is a great episode.
Yeah, this has been fun to talk about. Thank you, Blitz, for being here.
Oh yeah, I had a blast.
You want to plug yourself? Tell the people where they can find you?
You can find me at twitch.tv/Blitzbrom, on Instagram at Blitzbrom, and on Twitter at 12fantheman because I'm a huge Seahawks buff, so I couldn't change that.
And that's Blitzbrom, BLITZBROM, correct?
Correct.
Awesome.
And GP, where can the people find you?
No, you can find me on Twitch at The Retro Therapy. And, we're also on most of the social medias that way as well. Instagram, Twitter, and then YouTube if you want to find any of those videos.
They're great videos, by the way. You should really check them out.
That's very kind of you.
And I have been the host of this episode, though that's putting a lot of oomph into what I did. Werewolf. You can find me on Twitch and Twitter at WAREWULFF, or just search it on Google and tell Google you meant it.
Yeah, I like that. Also, if you're out there and you're enjoying what you're hearing, or if you've been a part of Press B to Cancel for a while, you should know we're doing Patreon stuff now. Some special content is there. And then always look us up on Discord as well. Join the Discord. We have a lot of ongoing conversations regarding various things that we've talked about. And to that end, if you would like to join our Discord, go ahead and find our new episode discussions every week. And I want to hear about some of your guys' hunting missions, as it were, for retro games. Tell me your best find or your worst. I'm just interested in stories.
Yeah, I'm always excited on Friday when I see just the chat light up, and I'm like, ooh, conversation about stuff. And I get to jump in and chat. Just say it. I get excited about it.
No, I'm with you.
Oh.
I'm with you. I woke up today and it was like 85 plus new messages from when I had last checked, which was like the week before. So I had a good amount of reading this morning.
Yeah, I get up and I see all these like new lines of text when I wake up, and I'm like, my eyes don't even work yet. I'm not going to be able to read these before coffee.
I hit stop recording now.
Oh, yeah, I guess we should do that, yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
$5, get out of here.
Special thanks for music go to Arthur the Last Ancient on Spotify or The Last Ancient on Bandcamp. For more episodes, please visit our website at pressbtocancel.com. And also, feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and check us out on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and Patreon. As always, thank you. This has been
Press B to cancel.